My name is Nick DeLaura. I'm with the Coast Guard, and this morning I'm going to kind of walk you through our journey towards builder implementation. Our journey kind of started back literally 13 years ago when we, the Coast Guard, modernized and stood up some of our entities, a new organization. We realized from a preventative maintenance, OLM, organizational level maintenance standpoint, we needed to kind of grow and mature. So I'm going to kind of walk you through that here. In attendance is several other Coast Guard folks. Mr. Eric Dinkle up at the table there. He's our Business Information Services Branch Chief, runs kind of our IT section, along with Mr. Cedric Barkley, who also provides IT support. And Lieutenant Kendra Bacon-Smith is our Builder Project Manager. We also have folks from ALC here, Ms. Lori Blennis, and then also Daniel McMaster, as well as headquarters folks as well. Adam's in the room. I don't know if Adam's there. I mention all that though because you know, as we take on projects, it's very important for us to keep in mind, you know, everyone that we're going to be working with to make this project successful and to get those folks involved early in the get-go. We've kind of found that as a strategy for success. Obviously, you know, not operating in that stovepipe and getting all those folks involved up front and understanding what we need to do up front and the help we need to make those things happen. So we have quite a bit of folks here. My name is Nick DeLaura. Like I said, we're at the Silk Shore Infrastructure Logistics Center in Norfolk, Virginia. I guess for those of you that are unfamiliar with the Coast Guard, the Silk is basically the equivalent to a NAVFAC, so to speak. We have our headquarters organization, then Silk underneath that. Silk kind of takes that policy and executes it through our technical authority at Silk and also through our civil engineering units, which are regionally located throughout the country. Our civil engineering, most people probably aren't familiar with the Coast Guard, so I'll just give you a little bit of background. Our civil engineering program is only 550 people strong, we manage about 20 million square feet. I know that's not a lot compared to some of you out there, but we have 20 million square feet, 41,000 assets valued at about a plant replacement value of about $30 billion. Although it's not maybe as big as Army, Air Force, or Marine installations, some of your installations are probably bigger than what we manage as an enterprise. We are geographically dispersed, which kind of creates some challenges in itself. We have over 250 sites throughout the continental United States and outside the United States that we need to manage. And also because some of our sites are so small, Coast Guard sites, we do not have facility managers at those sites, full-time facility managers. So we're managing facilities or trying to manage facilities through you know, enlisted folks that are E6, E7, some warrant officers that maybe don't have the technical expertise. And that in itself is a challenge as well when it comes to day-to-day maintenance and shore asset management. I also want to make mention before we get into the slides here, we do use Maximo. That's our database of record. Coast Guard made a decision probably about 15 years ago, which was a good one, to adopt and use Maximo to manage our shore plant. We use it for everything from real property to depot level maintenance and repair projects, as well as organizational level maintenance and day-to-day preventative maintenance. So Maximo is our database and hopefully will result in a smoother transition to Builder here in the future. All right, this is just kind of an overview slide. Obviously everyone has bosses, so to speak, and we work for those folks. This is the Deputy Commandant of Mission Support, the 3-star. It's kind of given us direction as a shore infrastructure logistics center. As we provide support, we need to focus on these 4 pillars: configuration management, bi-level maintenance, product line management, and total asset visibility. Obviously, Builder gives us some of those supports and meets some of those pillars. I can go into some detail about each one of these, but in the interest of time, I guess, I will skip the detail. But again, I think as you implement programs, i.e. Builder in this case, it's obviously all very important to kind of understand leadership, strategic vision, and what they expect from you as an execution arm for mission support here in this case. I think this is a little bit of more of an important graph to kind of display here is our, based on the 4 cornerstones previous slide, we at Silk, particularly when it comes to the organizational level maintenance program that we have, our day-to-day maintenance program, we took those 4 cornerstones and kind of developed this maturity continuum. A lot of our short plan, I kind of have dates there on the bottom, but essentially our facility managers were it was the Wild West kind of, so to speak, really back 2010 or so. And we realized at Silk that we kind of needed to get our hands around it and give those facility managers out in the field a lot more guidance than we have given them in the past, so to speak. I think the facility managers were trying to do the best they could, but it was definitely, obviously, very reactive versus proactive maintenance. So we kind of developed this maturity continuum model here and understood that, we were kind of starting out as novice reactive resource management type efforts. And then, this is kind of what we use to build our strategy on how do we get to that master level. I'm kind of going to go through that a little bit, but, in 2013, we just kind of started developing technical orders that we call really SOPs or procedures for our folks. We developed community of practice amongst our FEs. We had monthly forums with our FEs to discuss day-to-day issues. So we kind of started out in 2013 with the, for lack of a better term, admin side of things to kind of build our program and get that good community of practice. What we did in 2013, 2014, we started our, we call it equipment enrollment effort, but it's basically, we went out and inventoried all our equipment at all our units and set up a preventative maintenance program for that, and I'll get into that a little bit more. But I think, over the course of the last 7-8 years, we've made some great strides, kind of going from, novice, and I would kind of consider us, we're kind of at the apprentice stage right now with planned resource management, a good, robust PM program. And I think Builder will help us keep us going on that journey forward, hopefully up to master someday. That's always the goal, right? To do something like that. But each different area has its hurdles that we've kind of passed, but this is essentially our way of business and kind of our levels of service that we expect our facility managers to give to the field and to the operators. All right, this is one of the 4 cornerstones, obviously, total asset visibility. Obviously, I think we in the Coast Guard like to say total asset visibility breeds credibility. You need to understand, obviously, what you have, what you're managing on a day-to-day basis, where it is, and how it's performing. And the way we kind of got total asset visibility are our steps here. We started out, again, we really, when we kind of modernized in 2008, we didn't have a really good, robust, real property data system. Kind of got hit up by GAO. We really stepped out in 2008 and really enrolled all our equipment. We did an enterprise-wide initiative, and that was obviously very important to help us identify what we have and where it is. The next kind of step towards total asset visibility and supporting our operational partners was the equipment enrollment effort. Again, now that we had the building inventory, we needed to understand the equipment within that building. And we moved out and did an equipment enrollment effort. That was several years. Goes into a little bit, I'll go into a little bit more detail with that on the next slide. The other thing that we're moving out on, we started in 2017, was our ICAM or utilities inventory, to kind of obviously understand that and what we own and how much linear feet of different systems, water, electric, sewage distributions we have. And I should say step 4 there, so to speak, is Builder, which we're actually in the process of implementing right now. So get into that as well here towards the end. So just equipment enrollment initiative real quick. I think this kind of set the foundation for our program. I think it was very important. initiative that we had here. It was a 5-phased approach. We tried to move through it very methodically. We had partnered actually with Cardno and Robin that was up here last time on this initiative. We phased the initiative. First phase was kind of, instead of jumping feet first and putting people out in the field and inventorying the buildings and the equipment within those buildings. Did I cut off? Nope.
Now you're back.
Am I back? Okay. I think I cut off again. That's okay. Didn't touch anything. I'm back on. All right. Hopefully I won't try to mess that up. So we phased it. You know, we really didn't want to jump in feet first. So the first year of the contract was really to establish business rules and understand, you know, what we wanted to capture, how we were going to capture that data. You know, we made simple decisions: unit format type format or omni class. You know, we had different codes for different steps. Created equipment catalog. We tried to figure out what equipment we were going to capture. We were going to focus on that equipment that was only prevalent to kind of make the building function, where we go down to the finish levels, so on and so forth. Basically created an equipment catalog off of that. What type of PM program we were going to establish. There's all kinds of different ones out there. We're going to go off of manufacturer's recommendations. Long story short, we decided to use RS Means as an industry standard and create that PM program within our SAM within our Maximo database. So you kind of get the idea. I think, you know, the lesson learned here is we spent a good year just kind of round tabling and having discussions on all the different variables and making a decision on them. Once we kind of had the business rules and standards, we went into phase 2 and 3. Again, we kind of did the enrollment in phases. Phase 2 was our larger facilities, installations, buildings. And then phase 3 were those installations that didn't have those dedicated FEs managing their facilities. So we obviously did phase 2. We did some lessons learned after that, and we improved upon our lessons in phase 3, the next phase. Again, I mentioned earlier, we had about over 200 sites and about 25 million total square feet that we inventoried and walked to get our equipment inventory. Again, during these phases, we collected the equipment data. You know, it was very methodical, I guess, is my point here. You know, we did in-briefs with the commands, we did out-briefs with the commands, we let them know the results, we collected the equipment data, we enrolled equipment in SAM, or Maximo, as we like to say. That enrollment was actually pretty tedious. We tried to work with our IT folks and get them involved, but we could never do that batch upload. So our contractor actually fat-fingered in all that data, which obviously created some QA, QC checks and balances that we needed to implement as well throughout the process. And then once the data was enrolled within Maximo, we had our RS Means job plans uploaded in there, and then we were able to assign job plans to that equipment. And then we also trained our personnel. We thought that was very important. We just didn't want to kind of leave them with the data in the Maximo system and then not knowing how to use it. So at each installation, we came back once we had the data set up, and we did QA, QC on it, and we were very confident in the data. We actually went back to the installation and trained them on how to use Maximo and generate PMs, you know, everything from generating PMs to closing them out at the end of the day. Once phase 3 was completed, we went into phase 4, which was the sustainment plan. We kind of created some guides and books for the field to help sustain that data. We worked with our civil engineering units and the folks who build new facilities to kind of get scopes to kind of include, as they built new facilities or did major renovations or repairs, that the contractor would give us the updated equipment info that he installed in there. So came up with those various plans and tried to put them in place so that we kept the equipment enrollment inventory accurate. And then last but not least, obviously what kind of gets measured gets done, as we all know. So we developed metrics to kind of keep track of our PM completion rates and I'll get into that dashboard here real quick. So here's just, again, I'll scroll through these really quickly, but here's just kind of some results from our equipment enrollment effort. Again, we were able to kind of understand exactly what we own when it comes to the different various types of records. Again, we collected over 121,000 records. Obviously HVAC kind of leading the way with electrical and fire protection second. So kind of gave us some insight as to what we own and what we need to manage and maintain. Another way just to kind of slice the data was by annual PM hours. Again, you start looking at the data, and one of the things that kind of shocked us, so to speak, as a program was the equipment, or i.e. rolling stock, and the amount of energy and effort it takes to maintain our rolling stock. Talk rolling stock, we talk cranes, forklifts, carts and such. So that was kind of interesting to realize that the rolling stock has that much of an impact on our PM program. But again, once you kind of understand what you have, right, you can kind of analyze and look and see what's kind of eating your lunch or what you need to focus on. And here's the kind of measure and verify part. Again, we wanted to hold our units accountable, our facility managers accountable, be able to give them a dashboard to look at to see how they're performing. Particularly, we were really focused on a preventative maintenance plan, their PM performance, as you can kind of see on the upper right. This is a really great dashboard. I like what we created here. You can kind of, there's all kinds of different sort functions. What you're looking at right here is sorted by bases. So the bases are, Coast Guard bases are kind of all very similar in size, so they can kind of compare themselves to others. FEs kind of start to take some pride and ownership in their facilities, trying to compete with and beat out the other facility engineers. And this has been a really great tool and metric. We have some other metrics there, but we basically developed 6 KPIs for them to kind of look at and keep track of. There's a lower KPI there called condition rating. I would say, as far as sharing lessons learned, one of the things that we didn't do that we probably should have done is do the condition index when we went out and did the equipment enrollment. We weren't quite sure as an organization, the Coast Guard, whether or not we were going to adopt Builder at the time. So we decided not to do that. And then as we got into the equipment enrollment effort, we realized that we were going to move to Builder, and I think we captured about the last third of the inventory. We did do condition indexes on that equipment. So. All right, after we understood our equipment inventory, the next thought process and strategy was to implement Builder. And we developed a scope of work, 4 phases over the course of about 3 years is our implementation. We just entered phase 1. We just completed phase 1 and 2, I should say. We awarded this contract with Trans Systems, Tetra Tech, and Digon, our subcontractors there, helping us out with the implementation. It's been very successful. I think, we talked about COVID impacts yesterday. So when this kind of all started up, I think we received proposals back in February and March of last year, right, kind of when COVID hit. So, we were kind of impacted right away off the bat. We had our source selection panel that had to meet and evaluate these proposals. We kind of did that all offline via Zoom and such to kind of make it happen. Then we went to the award in May, and we were lucky enough to get and partner with Trans Systems, Tetra Tech, and Digon on this effort. And again, we've followed the same systematic approach with the Builder scope of work. We thought, hey, equipment enrollment effort worked very, very well. We divided it up into phases. We didn't really jump in feet first. We kind of sat back phase 1 and developed our strategy, developed our business rules, and we kind of wanted to follow that same methodology with the Builder implementation, and that's essentially what we did here. So just again, phase 1, we did charrettes. Those charrettes were, so again, impacted by COVID. We initially said, hey, we're going to do charrette in Norfolk, and everyone's going to come in, and we'll schedule it for June, right after about 30 days after the award. And everything seemed okay, and then DHS and came out with some guidance about contractors coming into government spaces that early in the process and stuff. So all of a sudden we kind of had to shift direction right away and make it virtual. So that was an impact there, but it worked out really well. We came up with a good plan virtually. We know everyone can't sit in front of a computer for 8 hours a day, so we divided the shred up over the course of like 4 days or 3 days, about 4 hours each day. So it was kind of digestible and manageable, and you can kind of work with that. The charrette obviously included, again, I talked about, us having everyone here. It was all our stakeholders, making sure that we got buy-in from senior leaders all the way down to the field level. We had all kinds of stakeholders involved. And the charrette also, as we went through that, a lot of questions came up, and it also resulted in breakout sessions with individual technical authorities and such to get a deeper dive into some of the issues and understand what we wanted to use Builder for. The implementation plan is the why of the Coast Guard. The inventory and assessment guide is the how on how we're going to do this. And then the custom reports, we started to try to understand how the Coast Guard wanted to use the data and to use that data to fit into our business practices and rules. I think that's about it. Colby, I'm looking at you. Did I miss anything? No? Good? Thumbs up? All right. Great. Phase 2. So this was our field proof of concept, as we called it. Again, once we kind of developed these business rules, we wanted to go out and test them. We wanted to put that assessment guide to the test and really just figure out if we got it right the first time around. So we just completed phase 2. We're actually kind of on the back end of it. Our contractors went out to our West Coast, and we inventoried 3 facilities. We tried to kind of run the spectrum with Coast Guard Base Alameda, looking at some industrial facility there, some operational mission, multi-mission buildings there as well. Also went up to our training center in Petaluma. That's a whole nother dynamic as far as shore facilities go, with the training center and barracks and such, and medical to support the students up there, and also looked at the galley as well. And then we went to an operational command, Coast Guard Air Station, San Francisco, and put the proof of concept to test there at the hangar. So we got a lot of good results, but we also found a couple places where we maybe broke the assessment, which is a good thing, and that allows us to kind of tweak the plan and update the guidance. Phase 3 is kind of the next phase. So this is where we're going to kind of figure out implementation. Still haven't decided as an organization whether to use, obviously, in-house forces or contracted support for this implementation process. But phase 3 is going to help us kind of figure out the return on investment, what's the best course of action there, as well as phase 3 will actually develop those implementation guides. Plan on doing some how-to videos for our folks, on-site training as well, and again, kind of contracted or in-house for the assessments to determination there. And then phase 4 is the quality assurance. Again, gets back to what gets measured gets done. I think it's important to provide the dashboards for the field, to provide the dashboards for leadership, to see how Builder's helping us and supporting our efforts to support the operators. We're going to have a help desk as well. That's something that's really worked out well with the equipment enrollment. Currently, right now, if our facility managers have any issues within Maximo on how to put in a new piece of equipment, how to assign a PM to that piece of equipment, we do have a help desk that's specifically geared to help them on that. So they have essentially a 1-800 number that they can call, and we want to kind of do the same almost with Builder for our product line managers. Here's just another look at the implementation schedule. Again, awarded the contract May of last year. via the Coast Guard's nationwide AE IDIQ, Trans Systems as the prime, Tetra Tech and Digon as subcontractors, and this kind of just shows implementation in another format here with the timelines. All right, I kind of went through that really quickly, but I guess some takeaways, lessons learned as we've kind of gone through the maturity continuum that I kind of showed there. We at the Coast Guard feel like, you know, you need to take the time to do things right, obviously. You know, no one wants to do rework. Really need, I think you can see the way our scopes of work were constructed or what have you. We had different phases. We really didn't just jump in feet first and start inventorying our equipment or doing the builder data and collecting condition indexes. We're really trying to think this thing through, develop a business plan first, phase it out. And then we also understand by doing all that, it obviously takes a lot of time. And what we're kind of doing in the Coast Guard, we view as we're changing the culture. Like I said, early mid-2000s, 2010, we really didn't have a good OLM, DLM program. But as we kind of move through that continuum, we realized that it's going to take time to kind of change the culture, change the mindset of the people out there in the field as far as our maintainers go. Consider all requirements. Again, I think it's important to get everyone around the table up front and early. So early interaction, early engagement is key. With Builder, particularly, I'm going to have Eric talk here a little bit with the IT systems. We obviously knew IT was an integral part to make sure with Builder and the data and where it was going to be hosted, so on and so forth. So again, you got to get those folks engaged up front and make sure they understand your initiative and why you're doing it and the implementation schedule so that we can all be successful. Again, the next bullet is just being methodical and deliberate in your actions. Again, need to think strategically, act tactically. Focus in when you're doing those business rules and such on the details. No details too small because it's just going to come up later on in the process. So you might as well just attack it up front and hopefully choose a good course of action there. And then the IT requirements, again, with Builder, that's been a big part of this. We've kind of delineated duties at Silk. Like I said, Eric's in charge of the Business Information Services branch. He's kind of running the IT side of it and making sure that he can support us, whereas I'm at the Facility Management branch and I'm really kind of into the details of Builder and the data itself. We've kind of gone through, since the contract was awarded in May, we originally started out thinking, hey, we're gonna kind of lean on Searle to host our data. Talking with Searle, we all know, that's not kind of their business line, so to speak, and they will host it, but only for a certain amount of time. Then we kind of went through and we thought, hey, we're gonna get contractor support and host the data and system on FedRAMP, and that came with some issues as well. And then we finally wound up, we're gonna take it on ourselves here and host internally on the Coast Guard network and cloud, and that's what Eric's been working on. But we've kind of attacked all those hurdles and things, and I think that's just an important lesson that we've kind of learned are those type of things. So, Eric, I'll turn it over to you with the IT stuff if you wanted to add anything else.
Yeah, we're getting the mic on first.
Let me get, okay.
You all hear me? So I've been coming to these conferences for about 4 years now, and I've heard a lot of individuals talk about how they've implemented Builder, but what I've never really heard is the people actually like hosting it and doing the application. And from where we sit at the Silk, I'm actually a non-IT person in charge of doing IT work. So how many people in here either have a headquarters function or you're kind of trying to implement Builder, but you're not actually the database administrator. You're not actually the guy doing the day-to-day server work. Or you're not the guy actually loading it. And yet, you're depending on somebody to do that for you, right? and yet you're in charge of, quote, implementing it. So that's kind of where Cedric and myself, we find ourselves at the Silk. We are the liaison, if you will, between the field user of the application. And let's just take Builder off the table for example. We've been using Maximo for, 15 years. And so I got this job about 5 years ago. And so our job is to support Nick, who's like the program manager for O-level and depot level maintenance. He's kind of setting the policy. He comes to us with requirements. And the field user, we have multiple field users actually at the civil engineering units, like 6 of those all over the country, actually doing depot level projects. And then we have O-level people scattered all over the country doing O-level work who we're trying to depend on to do the maintenance. And they're in our Maximo application. So we take those requirements and then we work with our developer, who up until now has been the Coast Guard C5I organization. Everybody has an IT organization like the headquarters level. And so the challenge for our group has been when Nick came to us, 4 or 5 years ago and said, hey, we'd like to start Builder. We didn't even know how to do it. We've never actually, in my group, fielded an application. We're not the database administrators. We have to obey all the cyber rules, all the hosting rules and all that. We didn't really even know what to do. So has anybody found themselves in that position where I'd really love to implement Builder, but I don't even know where to start? Who do I talk to? How do I get something hosted on my network? So that's kind of where we found ourselves, from a lessons learned perspective about 3 or 4 years ago. And so we were kind of beating our head against a wall saying, this is great, but how do I actually implement it? And so what we did is we kind of went around what was in our control and went directly to Searle. And we awarded a contract with them for them to actually host our instance of Builder at Searle for X period of time. And then we took data from Maximo and gave it to them. And then we started a couple-year process to do equipment catalog mapping between Maximo and Builder. We thought we were doing great. And then about a year or so ago, Nick's like, hey, we really want to implement Builder. Eric, how's it going? I'm like, well, we got Searle over here. We've had some meetings. We've done some crosswalks of data. But what was really missing was we never really went in the front door of our main IT organization to get it on our Coast Guard network, to get a Builder authority to operate, that ATO, that magical thing that you need. And so this past year, we said, okay, we threw our hands up. And a wonderful thing happened on the way to that is we changed IT hosting organizations for our Maximo application. Best thing since sliced bread or sliced cheese, whichever metaphor you like. So sitting here in front of us is, Lori Blennis and Daniel McMasters. They are actually, what's interesting, they are a sister organization to the Silk. The Silk is the Shore Infrastructure Logistics Center. We manage 7,000 buildings, all the real estate for the entire Coast Guard. It's like 2/3 of the DHS real property we manage. The Aviation Logistics Centers, so everything that doesn't fly or float, we maintain. Stuff that flies, Aviation Logistics Center manages. They have a huge maintenance facility in Elizabeth City, and they have established over the last 10 or 15 years really an IT center of excellence there on site. And about a year or so ago, the entire logistics community for the Coast Guard all got together and said, we're not getting the support that we need from our Coast Guard CIO kind of organization because they're very decentralized. They went through an entire reorg. And we made the case, and it was accepted, that the logistics centers should manage their own logistics IT program. And so at the time, that was great for us. So about back around last October, November, I guess it was 2019 now, we transitioned our Maximo to the Aviation Logistics Center. And ever since then, it's like Katie bar the door. We've established a wonderful relationship and rapport with them. Just this past week, we issued our first major release to our Maximo instance in years. I like to say 10 years. Lori says 5 years because I did something not too long ago. But major depot modernization application. So now we have the ability to make changes. So what we did was, that gave me the bright idea, maybe we can bring Builder into the Coast Guard now. And so we started that conversation right around the time Nick came out with the contract. So this was a lot of things happening that all kind of worked together to our benefit. And so I made the case to the Coast Guard's CG Cyber, the Aviation Logistics Center, and to our contractor. Hey, and it just so happens that our instance of Maximo is up for its authority to operate this year. At the end of August, it's supposed to be done. And we made the case, and it was accepted, to possibly not only bring Builder into the Coast Guard, but to accelerate it getting an authority to operate. We asked if we could possibly combine Builder and Maximo into the same ATO. Has anybody here ever either done that or thought of doing that, to combine Builder with your CMMS into the same authorization boundary? Wow. So maybe that's the first, but we thought that was a huge win. And in so doing, we got CG Cyber on board and all of our IT folks on board, ALC sort of helping us. And then to facilitate that transition, one of the things that we're doing with the contract with Nick and Tetra Tech, Diagon, and Trans Systems is we're dividing the Builder piece from the Maximo piece, putting them in the same environment in our servers in the Coast Guard network. But for a period of a couple of years, the contractor is actually going to be doing our Builder instance, and the Coast Guard Aviation Logistics Center are going to do the Maximo instance. And over that period of 2 or 3 years, then the Coast Guard can kind of observe, see, and learn the process. And then at the end of that contract, we'll decide what to do, but more than likely, those functions might transition to the Coast Guard side. This gives us, again, the time to crawl, walk, run, learn Builder, take advantage of all the expertise that the contractor offers us with all their experience in terms of implementation, get those lessons learned. And then, but again, from an IT perspective, for those that might not have tried to do that, that might be an elegant solution that you might can adopt to get Builder into your particular network. Combine it with your CMMS if it's possible, because they share a lot of the same data. You might can have that discussion. So that was a huge win, I think, for us. Now, to facilitate that process, our contractor also had a FedRAMP, or had something in the contract to do a FedRAMP certification for Builder and host the data outside our Coast Guard network. That provided a lot of cybersecurity issues for our Coast Guard folks in terms of potentially sharing data between Maximo and Builder, cloud, on-premise, cloud, cybersecurity, firewalls, and all that. And so another elegant solution that we were able to come up with is we got temporary permission, if you will, to continue with our Builder implementation with our pilot study, and have the contractor host all that data in their contractor cloud as an okay thing that allowed that process to continue. And then what we're doing behind the scenes is we're getting all the contractor CAC accesses and what we call PUMP, Privileged User Management Program, access to our Coast Guard database instance of Builder. And then they're also helping facilitate the load of Builder onto the Coast Guard network with like an over the shoulder kind of view with our Coast Guard people. So it's been a great partnership that we've established. We're trying to maintain strong communications, roles, and access. And part of my job as a non-IT person is really the facilitator of all this, trying to keep all the balls in the air, keep the project moving forward. And then the last thing I'll say is the Coast Guard. One of the things that we've done, we have an ICAM, a GIS. We have, I don't know, maybe 2/3 of the entire Coast Guard utility infrastructure that has GIS data mapping. We're working a project right now to bring that into the Coast Guard network, setting up our own GIS Esri server on premise. And then the other thing is, once we get Builder on premise, we have Maximo. What I see as our big next thing is to try to keep them all in alignment, where we can share data. We'll have a Builder Maximo integration project probably about a year from now, once we get the Builder stood up on the Coast Guard network, and try to figure out how to share data, map those particular fields. And part of the ultimate goal is to keep that data in alignment where you can only enter it one time and have it share across the different applications. And we're definitely interested in lessons learned for people that have done that successfully, because that data validation seems to be a real issue. So that's all I have. Did you guys want to? All right.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
All right, just to kind of wrap it up, go back to the continuum, always kind of keeping that in mind as our vision for our OLM, DLM programs. Again, I think, Builder's going to help us, again, move along that continuum, maybe into the journeyman phase there, increasing operational availability for our shore plant, as well as our return on investment and life cycle management of our shore plant as well. So we're really excited about what it's going to bring to the table, particularly producing work lists for us. We obviously have work lists that are developed by our product line managers right now, but it's somewhat subjective based on the view of the product line manager when it goes in front of the prioritization board. But Builder will help us bring that objectivity and bring those highest need projects right to the front based on, whatever we kind of decide how to sort data, whether it's, MDI, FCI, or so forth. So we're really looking forward to this initiative. And I guess maybe I'll come back in 2023 or 2024 and let you all know how it went when we kind of finalized the implementation. But with that kind of ends my presentation. I'll let Colby, if you have anything that you want to kind of foot stomp or talk about real quickly before we open for questions.
One thing I would say is that, all the years plus, we've got to go.
Hold on, Kobe.
Over the last 10 years plus, with all the implementations I've done for various services, it's really great to work with the Coast Guard because they're taking a very pragmatic approach, and they're looking at their business processes and how do we change the business processes so that we can incorporate this so that when sustainment comes, it's already built in, right? They're baking the sustainment in as they build the program, and so as we're building the car. And so that's just been fantastic. And then the whole IT thing, that's just been an amazing journey that just happened here in the last 6 months. And I think it's first of its kind. It's really cool to do a FedRAMP hosted cloud with Builder in it. That was quite a challenge. And, once the ISSO from the Coast Guard saw it and we showed them the invoice that, yes, it's really no kidding FedRAMP approved. Okay, no problem. And then, to be able to work with them to transit to the Coast Guard's own private cloud within their network, that's also a really cool thing. And, we're excited to be a part of that as well. So it's just been a fantastic job all the way around. It's not easy, but it's been great to kind of work the whole issue and really think about strategically where are they going in the long term and where do they want to be? And then what are the tactical things that we need to do in order to get there? So it's been a lot of fun.
Thanks, Colby. I guess we have the luxury, we're DHS, obviously, not DOD, and DHS hasn't put a mandate out on Builder. So we're kind of working ahead of the other DHS agencies, trying to lead the way
with this initiative and even with our equipment enrollment and preventative maintenance plan that we've established. So with not having the mandate, we have a little bit of luxury and time to kind of implement and not feet to the fire, so to speak. Any questions, comments? Yes, sir.
You did answer one of my questions.
Okay.
Were you doing this? Did you implement Builder out of a mandate? And you said no.
Nope.
So the question was, what was your biggest areas of resistance to adopting Builder? And then what was the primary reason you chose to adopt it? Of your option, and did you have other options?
Yeah, I think like Eric alluded to, we've kind of been following Builder for the last several years. We understood that we weren't ready to adopt Builder 6, 7, 8 years ago. We understood that we didn't have the real property inventory nailed down. We understood that we didn't have our equipment inventory nailed down. We thought that, jumping in feet first was not the ideal situation, and that we would kind of use those initial initiatives to build that foundation so that then we could go into Builder and adopt it. I think, Builder's got a great, power behind it with Cyril and all these power users and other DoD agencies. I think it just was the right way for us to kind of move and adopt Builder. Again, we're kind of, we take pride in ownership, the Coast Guard and our shore facilities. We're kind of taking our own initiative, moving out ahead. Hopefully DHS doesn't mandate or direct us to do something else later on down the line. We're kind of taking that risk position, but I think with the DoD adoption and mandate, DHS will probably follow. Question? Yes, sir.
The system process that you have right now.
Hold on, Ms. Mill.
Process that you have right now from the contractor cloud to go to your system. That will work with the ESMS system?
Eric, I'm looking at you. My IT guru, or Lori.
Well, I figured you'd have the 2025 figured out.
I'm really interested in you call it that it's the same because we're gonna need it.
Yeah, I thought about that yesterday when the timeline came up. 2023, we'll have potentially Builder, what do they say, fully conditioned. So what we're going to be doing now for the next couple of years is getting Builders stood up on the Coast Guard network. And I'm going to be spending the majority of my time with ALC and our GIS folks trying to get Maxima, Builder, the integration piece of the data, and then also the GIS component, which I understood from the brief that they gave yesterday that ESMS might have a GIS component or a GIS attribute that you can potentially use. We're going to be trying to connect all that and get all that stood up in the next couple of years within our environment. When ESMS comes available, I've already started some behind the scenes conversations with Cyril to get a waiver to do ESMS hosting on premise as in quote exception to the rule. So there are certain agencies and entities that may or may not have that particular opportunity. So I'm sure everybody here, will either try to either host or they'll use the ESMS hosting model that comes up. I'm not exactly sure what that model looks like or will look like, but we'll keep our ears open over the next couple of years. If there are waiver opportunities, we'll push for that depending on who our maybe contractor partners are and their leverage as well. And then we'll just see that. But I think between our organization, our sister logistics center hosting organization, and I think at that time, it'll be a lot easier to have the conversation about, and then also the Coast Guard itself is kind of late to the game when in terms of integrating cloud opportunities. And mobile devices. So I'm hopeful that in the next 2 to 3 years, the Coast Guard will crack the code on allowing mobile devices, allowing private clouds and so forth, which will then allow us to maybe pivot to a FedRAMP cloud or their environment. I think ESMS being hosted in a .mil environment will make the conversation a lot easier, especially if they enter in with already FedRAMP. I think we could make that transition. It just makes the data integration harder when you don't have all that data on premise.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and we'll let you know how it goes.